Stormy Daniels' lawsuit against President Trump on hold. A federal judge granting a defense request for a 3-month delay. The judge agreeing that a federal criminal investigation of President Trump's personal attorney, Michael Cohen, overlaps with issues in the adult film star's lawsuit over her $130,000 hush money deal with Cohen. Daniels' lawyer tweeting that while we certainly respect Judge Utero's 90-day stay order based on Mr. Cohen's pleading of the 5th, we do not agree with it. We will likely be filing an immediate appeal to the Ninth Circuit early next week. Justice delayed is justice denied. Mercedes Colwin is a Fox News legal analyst, and Robert Schalk is a defense attorney and former prosecutor. Thank you both to being here today.
Great being here.
Yes, I'm so glad to talk to you guys. You know, the attorney says he wants to see the action happen quickly. So is this delay bad news, good news for the Daniels team? Is it bad news, good news for Cohen? Mercedes?
Well, it's actually great news for Cohen because these are competing interests. If you're in civil court, you get discovered. You get to depose people. You get to force them to answer questions. You don't have any of that in the criminal proceeding. That's why the judge suspended it. They figured, we're not going to force Cohen to take the stand and answer some of these questions. So we're going to suspend it, and it happens all the time. When you have a criminal case and a civil case with the same underlying facts, and there is that overlap, judges routinely suspend this civil proceeding.
Pleading the 5th.
Correct. And the issue that Cohen has to think about is he doesn't know how deep or the tentacles of this FBI investigation. What are they looking into? What could I potentially expose myself, as Mercedes said, of if he gets deposed, he could be asked questions that he has no idea the FBI is looking into, could give an incriminating response. He needs to protect himself. And although everyone wants to read into it, oh, he's pleading the 5th, he must be guilty. Wrong. He's protecting himself because he doesn't know, and his lawyers are never going to let him do that.
You know, one of the most fascinating things regarding this whole issue that's happened in recent days, Cohen's done a lot of saying he acted on his own, that he created this deal with Daniels, that he set the money. But Trump recently told reporters that he had not known about this. Then on Thursday, President Trump goes on Fox and Friends, and he says this.
Well, as a percentage of my overall legal work, a tiny, tiny little fraction. But Michael would represent me and represent me on some things. He represents me, like with this crazy Stormy Daniels deal. He represented me, and, you know, from what I see, he did absolutely nothing wrong.
Now, of course, it's not a very clear statement on the part of the president. It doesn't say exactly when he knew that Cohen was representing him. One would think you would know a lawyer is representing you. Sure. But, Robert, you're shaking your head.
You cannot. President Trump is currently being investigated by Mueller, potentially for collusion, although he says there's none. You have his personal lawyer being investigated for potentially paying hush money out of campaign funds. We don't know where the money came from, what President Trump knew. There are now conflicting stories. Where you have conflicting stories, you're creating doubt in the minds of people. You're creating issues for other attorneys. His lawyers need to say to him, we are representing you. We are handling this. You either say, that's a question for my attorneys, or you have no comment because there's pending litigation. You can't hurt yourself by not talking. You can only hurt yourself by giving conflicting information.
And the president had been fairly mum on this whole issue until now.
Exactly, and exactly right, Bob. And you're basically feeding the federal investigation because they're saying there's all this inconsistency, and any practitioner will tell you that the federal investigators are the most aggressive investigators you will ever deal with. You have to be incredibly careful. And let's say you've done nothing wrong. The investigation is squeaky clean. But if you lied during the investigation, you held something back, there's a separate criminal charge that can be imposed on you that has nothing to do with the investigation. Now, like, you lied to me during this investigation, so we didn't find anything against you during the investigation, but you lied, so therefore we're going to charge you with that.
And you know that they're paying attention because the next day in court, federal DOJ attorneys, the AUSAs, are in court saying, Judge, look at what he said. He said it's only a tiny fraction of the attorney-client privilege.
So we can go through everything,
exactly.
right? Let's
so
take a deeper look at all this paperwork.
So anyone that doesn't think they're paying attention, and they're absolutely now going to use his words in an attempt to get a federal judge to give them access to everything.
And did the president hurt Cohen by making this statement?
I mean, Cohen has been pretty recalcitrant about exposing who his clients are, and that's understandable. I mean, the two of Bob and I are seasoned practitioners. We don't do anything to harm our clients, frankly, and even exposing their identity, especially in the throes of what's going on, is enough to be harmful to a client. These are things that are so sensitive. The raid was unbelievable, outrageous. Any lawyer looking at it said, oh my God, that's absolutely insane that happened to begin with. Lo and behold, it's really problematic for him because, as Bob says, inconsistencies can harm both of them.
But what is the biggest benefit that Cohen could potentially have, if there is anything? he has the ability to proffer. He has the ability to flip. He has the ability to testify. And if that information harms the president, you have to be very careful when you go out.
The question is there anything to flip on?
Correct, but if you go out and give statements of, oh, it's minimal, he didn't do this, he didn't do that, are you now...
Are you implicating him?
Yeah, or are you giving him ammunition now? I have to
We've got to go,
myself.
guys, but thank you so much for the insight. Robert Schalk, Mercedes Colwin, very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Eric?